Continuing now on Newsmax Prime with a question to you. How accurate are the polls? Now, we've heard Donald Trump sound off about them. He's got his doubts, to put it diplomatically. But the question remains, are these surveys, in fact, accurate measures of political performance? Ed Berliner has more now about the inexact science of polling. Ed?
The pollsters have got it wrong again.
The 2014 U.S. congressional elections polls.
Where did the Democrats in the White House get this wrong?
Polls in Israel, Greece, Scotland. Wrong, wrong, and wrong. In any election year, if you watch cable news,
at least according to a new poll.
Look at the CNN poll.
The latest wave of swing state polling.
Or read any news outlet, or even take a peek at Donald Trump's Twitter feed, polls are constantly referenced as if they are gospel.
Far from it. All of these polls we've been drowning in since last year have left heads spinning, people seeking for the nearest and best excuse to explain them away, and in the end, not one definitive answer as to which candidate has the best chance of becoming our next president. To which the same person that has been keeping track of American politics for longer than a few days might respond, hey, tell us something we didn't know.
Some of the polling was definitely biased, Republican organizations, Democratic organizations, but we also see some, neutral organizations like Gallup, for example, widely inaccurate. They were off by 2 or 3 points.
Polls can cause a voter or a candidate to make a decision that can influence an election. For instance, if a voter or a candidate thinks a race is over, they'll give up, and the poll becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. So try to ignore the polls if you can. Certainly don't make decisions based on them because, as I showed you, they can be wrong.
And therefore, our lesson for today, ladies and gentlemen.
As we've talked about, the thing to focus on is not the undecided voters, it's the enthusiasm of supporters.
Florida is the largest of the states that are, I think, up for grabs, 29 electoral votes there. If he doesn't get that, there just aren't enough states or enough electoral votes left for him to close that gap.
Polls show Hillary Clinton with a narrow lead there. Donald Trump campaigning there last night. He told voters in Florida he doesn't trust these numbers.
Wash, rinse, and repeat those words. Polls are never the final word because they are conducted by humans and merely opinions, not absolutes. J.D., it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Ed. And for more enlightenment, we're pleased to be joined now by our favorite pollster, John Zogby. John, of course, the senior partner at John Zogby Strategies, also the author of the book, We Are Many, We Are One. A new look at tribes in 21st century America. And John joins us tonight from Cortland, New York. So here we are, the polls with all their limitations. We've got to kind of take a look at them anyway. And the latest poll out of Bloomberg Politics has Donald Trump ahead in Florida by 2 points, 45 to 43% over Mrs. Clinton. John, we talked yesterday about the swing states perhaps swinging toward Donald Trump. Are there enough surveys out there to indicate a trend?
Yeah, I think that he's bottomed out, not only nationwide, but in the swing states as well. So what you're seeing today, and the, Ann Selzer, who polls for Bloomberg, is certainly one of the best. Trump pulling into a very slight lead, but at least, last week, he was 4 points down, leading in Ohio, again, by as many as 4 points in today's poll, and then narrowing the gap down to just 2 points in New Hampshire, whereas, that was a 10-point lead. It's also a 3-point race. The Clinton leads in Pennsylvania as of today. So we're seeing some definite trending and tightening up this race.
Well, perhaps sensing that upward trend, Donald Trump was feeling pretty good during his campaign swing through Florida. Here is what he told those gathered at a rally in St. Augustine.
And just in case you haven't heard, we're winning, not only Florida, but we're going to win the whole thing. What we have is we have a movement like they've never seen before. We have some very, very unhappy people out there, though, I'll tell you. When they hear this, they are not happy.
John, politically, Florida has long been called a microcosm of the United States. Do you share that opinion? And will that offer an indication of where the rest of the nation may go?
Well, demographically, it's not a microcosm, but vote-wise it is. So when we've had very, very close presidential elections, we've had very, very close Florida elections. And so it's as good a state as any to watch as a barometric reading. In this instance, if he pulls ahead in Florida and pulls ahead in Ohio, you know, you have to start watching the other states, especially since those states are tightening too.
Let me ask you a question that really has less to do with the science of polling than, I guess, what we would call meta-politics or the communication of politics. You know, a lot of the coverage, John, is on the horse race, the polling. It's also as if everyone in the United States, if you watch the alphabet networks, their cable cousins, it's as if everybody has become a political consultant. And the one criticism of Trump is, you know, he just won't get off these other topics. Well, quite often he addresses topics that depart from the issues because he is asked. Does he earn any marks for saying, if you ask the guy a question, he's going to answer it? Or would he be better served listening to everyone, it seems, saying, message discipline, stay on the issues?
Well, message discipline could certainly help him, I think, especially in the closing days. But, you know, on the other hand, I think it's absolutely clear that the media does not want him to win and is putting his feet to the fire a whole lot more than they are to Hillary Clinton. You know, by the same token, you do have to ask, who's watching? You know, the true believers are watching Fox and MSNBC. People whose minds are made up already are watching CNN as well. And so where are people getting their information from anyway? You know, for the most part, the way they always did, through the water cooler. Today's water cooler, though, happens to be online and via social media.
And of course, the really discerning and intelligence TV viewers are watching Newsmax TV.
Absolutely.
John Zogby tonight from Cortland, New York. John, thanks very much.
Thank you, JD. Take care.